Hello students, myself Dr. Pallavi Rai Labhale and today I am going to teach you pharmacognosy BP405T. In today's lecture, we are going to study about the alphabetical, chemical and taxonomical classification of crude drugs. So, what is classification of crude drugs? Why is it required? If we look at the natural sources, then there are many natural drugs which are available. A person wants to do any kind of research or study, or even a physician wants to understand the use of these drugs, then it becomes very difficult to study each and every drug separately. So, the best way would be to classify these drugs into different categories. So, as we know that the natural sources of drugs are available from plants, microbes, animals and marine organisms, and if we want to classify them, then the basic things which we classification has to be very simple in nature. It has to be easy to use and it should be basically it should be free from any kind of confusion or ambiguities. So, that should be kept in mind while we perform this kind of classification. And as we know that these natural drugs, they are a wide they have a wide distribution. So, having a proper classification becomes very much, you can say, difficult, and each classification has certain merits as well as demerits. So, if we look at the classifications as per the syllabus provided, it has different types of classifications, starting from the alphabetical classification, which deals with the arrangement of drugs in the alphabetical order. Taxonomical classification, which has the classification based on the taxonomy of these crude drugs. Morphological classification, which is classification based on which morphological part we are talking of. The pharmacological classification is based on the use, the medicinal therapeutic application of these particular crude drugs. Based on that, when we are classifying, that is the pharmacological classification. Chemical classification is the classification when we classify the drugs based on their chemical structure. And then we have two more classifications which have been added in the past few years. One is the chemotaxonomical classification, where we have a combination of chemistry and taxonomy coming together and increasing, you can say, the clarity of classification based on both their chemistry as well as their taxonomy coming together makes we have more classifications, but in short it will become more focused. So, that is the benefit of chemotaxonomical classification. And lastly, we have the serotaxonomical classification, which is related to serology, which we will discuss in the further class. So, if we start with the alphabetical classification, it is one of the simplest classification, I would say, where we simply arrange the drugs based on their alphabetical order, okay, like A, B, C, D. You must have seen the pharmacopoeia, and if you see the pharmacopoeia, if you try to refer the pharmacopoeia, you will see that generally in pharmacopoeia the drugs are numbered alphabetically. If you want to search a drug by aspirin, you have to go in the A section. If you want to search a drug like say sulfonamide, so you have to go in the S section. So, you know that in which alphabetical order your drug will come. However, it is not very successful, we will see why, but let us see the example first. So, the examples for the alphabetical classification are Indian Pharmacopoeia, British Pharmacopoeia, British Herbal Pharmacopoeia, United States Pharmacopoeia as well as the National Formulary of United States. Then we have British Pharmacopoeial Codex and the European Pharmacopoeia. So, we have these different examples where all the drugs, they are arranged in an alphabetical order. So, if we look at the merits and demerits of alphabetical classification, the merits are that it is easy and quick to use, there is no repetition of entries and it is devoid of any confusion, you do not have any confusion. Then in this system, we can easily locate, trace and add a drug if we require. So, these are the merits. But if we look at the demerits, there is no relationship between the previous and the successive drugs, means they are randomly placed. We do not know about their pharmacology, we do not know about their morphology, we do not have any information. So, if we look at the example given here, you just have a look that from acacia, benzoin, cinchona, dill, ergot, fennel, gentian, hyoscyamus, ipecac, jalap, kurchi, licorice, mint, Nux vomica, opium, podophyllum, quassia, rauwolfia, serpentina, vasakha, wolfat, yellow beeswax, and last is the zeodary. So, these are different, I named from A to Z one example for each drug, and see, you can see that how it can be easily arranged. So, there is a easiness if we want to study or compile any data, but if we look at any study or research purpose, then this particular classification is more or less useless. Then if we talk about the taxonomical classification, in taxonomical classification, the main way or the format in which the classification is done is basically depending upon the general characters of the plant, the morphological character, the microscopic character, the chemical character, embryological character, serological character, and genetics. All these, when they fall together and they bring about a category, that is the taxonomical classification. So, as you know that we have specific taxonomical classification, like you must have studied about the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom, and then further in this plant and animal kingdom we have further segregations up till the genus and species. So, how is this categorization done? So, the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom, if we just take an example of the plant kingdom and we try to further classify them, then comes the class. And in class we have two types of plants. One is the angiospermae, which are the plants which produce flowers, and second is the gymnospermae, which are those which do not produce flowers. Okay, so, we have two classes. Further, each class basically is further divided. If we talk about the flowering plants, then in flowering plants we have the dicotyledonnae subclass and monocotyledonnae subclass. So, dicotyledonnae subclass is that class in which the seeds have two cotyledons, like you have green peas or the chickpea, chana, okay, it has two cotyledons. And monocots are what? Those seeds which have one cotyledon, for example, rice or wheat or maize, which have a single cotyledon. Further, after subclass comes the superorder. So, superorder is somewhere when the related plant families, they come together, they fall in the superorders, and the dicots or the dicotyledonnae subclass, they are classified into 6 different types of suborders. Okay. And monocotyledons, they are divided into 4 subcategories of the superorders. Further, these superorders generally end with -E. For example, Rosidae, Asteridae, etc. After superorder comes the order, and each superorder is further divided into several orders, and these orders generally end with ALs, like Rosales. So, Rosidae family, in that one in the superorder Rosidae, we have one order which is the Rosales. Then in taxonomical classification, further it is divided into family. Now, you must have studied in botany earlier that each flower has a floral formula, means the arrangement of the 4 whorls, the calyx, corolla, the androecium and the gynoecium. So, that arrangement determines the floral formula of a particular plant, and we have different plants having a similar floral formula. So, such plants which are having similar floral formula, they fall under the similar family. Okay. So, each order is divided into families, and these are the plants with many botanical features in common, in which one is the floral formula, and are the highest classification normally used. The number of the families, it varies, because mainly there are 150 families which have been identified, but certain researchers, they have further categorized these 150 families into 500 you can say subfamilies. So, this is, you can say, one of the widely accepted category, because generally the similar families have similar chemistry also. This is generally. Further, after family comes the subfamily. So, a family can be divided into further different kind of families. For example, we have Umbelliferae is a very huge family, or Leguminosae is a very huge family. So, they can be further divided into smaller subfamilies for better understanding and classification. Then after family comes tribe and subtribe. So, what happens that as a family is very big or a subfamily is very big, further they are segregated depending upon the regions in which they are available. Some drugs are available in tropical region, some drugs are available in temperate region. Okay. So, depending upon that, we can divide them into tribe and subtribe. And then comes the genus. So, genus is, you can say, in a family, when we are able to recognize a separate category of drug, we call it as a genus. Okay. And further, this genus is divided, which is, you can say, the lowest classification is the species. This is an individual plant itself. For example, if I talk about Vinca rosea, this is Sadabahar, name for Sadabahar. So, Vinca is the genus and Sadabahar is the species. Okay. So, Vinca rosea will always be same, it will always be same, it is an individual plant. Okay. If I give another example like aloe, aloe is named as aloe vera, or if I take another example of aloe ferox. Okay. So, aloe is the same, means the genus is the same, but the species is varying. So, this variation is why, because it is an individual category of plant. Further, sometimes what happens, you must have seen that a plant growing in North India or a plant growing in a South India, same genus, same species, there are minor variations. Okay. So, we call them the variety. Okay, they are named as variety. Even if you go to a plant nursery, you will see that for the same species, you have different varieties which are present. Then we have different forms also. Form means, like for example, if we talk about Vinca only, Sadabahar, if you see the flower of Sadabahar, you will see that it is white colored, it is pink colored, it is magenta colored. Okay. So, it is the same Vinca rosea only, but the form is different, we have different colors in that. And then we have certain cultivars. When we are doing any kind of hybridization of plants, or in our garden if we are doing certain experimentations. So, the genus and the species are generally the same, but a new cultivar develops either naturally or intentionally, and that falls under the category of cultivar. So, all these examples from kingdom to class to superorder to family to genus to species to variety to form and cultivar, these fall under the taxonomical classification. And the merit for taxonomical classification is that it is helpful for studying evolutionary developments, how these plants have evolved. But the demerit is that nowhere we are correlating the chemical constituents or the pharmacological effects of these drugs with our plant. Next classification is the morphological classification of these crude drugs. So, generally what happens is that when we see a plant, depending upon which part it is, we studied that plant, and after that we decide that yes, in this plant the leaf is as a active drug, source of drug. So, we will just study the leaf. If we have a flower as the main active drug, so we will only study that flower portion and not the entire plant. So, here the classification is based on which part of the drug is used as a basically main chemical constituent. And as we had discussed in the last class that the crude drugs, they are of two types, organized drugs and unorganized drugs. So, here the first classification is based on this, that whether it is having the cellular structure or the acellular structure. So, if we talk about the organized drugs, so organized drugs I have taken few examples. For example, wood. If we talk about a tree, in the trunk of tree we have the central pith, which is the wood. Okay. So, wood normally contain many excretory products of the plant in them stored as it is. So, the examples for that is quassia, which is a bitter drug, sandalwood, we call it chandan, okay, and then red sandalwood also, which is also a type of a chandan only, that is lal chandan. Okay. So, they are the sources obtained from woods. Then if a drug is obtained from leaves, we categorize them as leaf drugs. Example, digitalis, eucalyptus, tulsi, vasakha, coca, etc. Okay, coca gives us the chocolate also as well as cocaine also. Then barks of a plant like Arjuna bark, then Ashoka bark, Cascara, Cassia, Cinchona, etc. The flowering parts, for example, clove, pyrethrum, saffron, etc. So, clove, you know, it is a dental analgesic, pyrethrum, it is an insect repellent, okay, and then we have the saffron, which is the kesar. Then we have fruits like amla, anise, bale, baheda, bitter orange peel, capsicum. Then we have seeds like bitter almond, black mustard, cardamom. Roots and rhizomes like aconite, ashwagandha, colchicum, diascorea. The entire plant and herbs like ephedra, bacopa monaria, endographis, kalmeg, etc. Hair and fibers like cotton, hemp, jute, silk, flax, etc. So, these are all the organized drugs. If we look at the unorganized drugs, we have dried latex like opium, we have dried juice like aloe, dried extracts like agar, wax like beeswax, gums like acacia, resin like asafoetida or hing, volatile oils like the turpentine or the coriander oil or peppermint oil, fixed oils and fats like castor oil or the coconut oil, cottonseed oil, etc. We have animal products also coming under the unorganized drugs like beeswax, cantharides, cod liver oil, halibut oil, etc. Then now we discuss about the merits and demerits of the morphological classification. So, the demerits of the morphological classification is that it is more helpful to identify and detect adulteration. The study of the system of classification is more convenient for practical study, especially when the chemical nature of the drug is not clearly understood. The demerit is that the main drawback of our morphological classification is that there is no correlation of the chemical constituents and the therapeutic effects, and many times the repetition of the drug may occur, like if a drug has its leaf used as drug and at the same time root used as drug. For example, if we talk about Glycyrrhiza, Licorrhizia, mulethi, its stem as well as root both are used as drugs. So, where do we classify them? So, there is a repetition of the drugs happening. So, that is the demerit. And next we come to the chemical classification of these drugs, and in chemical classification we mainly classify the drugs based on their chemical constituents. So, as we discussed that the plants, they generally have the primary metabolites and the secondary metabolites. So, here we classify those drugs whether they are containing carbohydrates, fats, minerals, alkaloids, glycosides, tannins, carbohydrates, saponins, etc. So, here we are not going in detail of the morphology or the taxonomy, but we are mainly discussing only the chemical constituent. So, here the few examples are in alkaloids, Cinchona, which is an anti-malarial drug, Dhatura, which is again used as, basically it has multiple uses, but it is anticholinergic in nature, Vinca, anti-cancer, Ipecac is a emetic, okay, and then Nux vomica. Then we have carbohydrates and its derived product, example acacia, tragacanth, starch, isabgol, which have multiple effect. For example, isabgol is a laxative drug, starch is generally used as an excipient, as a pharmaceutical aid. Okay. Tragacanth and acacia are gum drugs which are used mainly in preparing creams or emulsions. Then volatile oils are those oils which evaporate at room temperature and have a essence or a smell. So, the example is clove oil, coriander oil, fennel oil, cinnamon oil, cumin oil, or all the perfumeries, for example, rosemary, lavender, all these have certain, you can say, volatile oils which are present. They have their essence as well as their pharmacological effects as well. Then we have the resin and the resin combinations, for example, benzoin, balsam of Tolu, balsam of Peru, which are, you can say, secondary metabolites which are used mainly as a flavoring agent, as well as they have certain expectorant effect on the respiratory tract also. Then we have the tannins, which are examples are catechu and tea. Catechu is katha, okay. So, katha, tea, they are used as tannins. Enzymes, for example, papain, casein and trypsin. Lipids like beeswax, kokum butter and lanolin. So, these are some of the examples of different chemical categories which can be used as the formulations. So, the merits of the chemical classification is that they are very popular in nature because of the phytochemical studies. They have to do very less phytochemical studies, because of that mainly not very less, we have to mainly focus on the phytochemical part of a particular drug, and we do not focus on any of the morphological or any other part. While the demerit is that there may be ambiguity may arise when a particular drug possesses a number of compounds belonging to different group of compounds. So, in a drug, if we talk about tea has the tannins also and alkaloids also. So, where do we categorize tea, whether in alkaloid or in tannin? So, there the confusion may arise. So, here in this lecture we have mainly discussed different types of classifications. For example, we discussed about the alphabetical classification, then we discussed the morphological classification, then we discussed the taxonomical classification and the chemical classification. So, depending upon which classification will be better, we can choose any of those categories and study. Classification normally helps a researcher or a pharmacognosist to understand that which will be a, you can say, better drug of choice for them. They should know the chemistry, the taxonomy, the morphology, as well as the basic other things about the drug. For example, if we talk about the alphabetical classification, so when a researcher thinks of doing research on any drug, he should know the name. And if we talk about name, he may know the local name or the Hindi name or the English common name, but he may not know the biological name. So, in order to search the biological name, he may have to have a proper you can say reference, and that reference is generally provided through this alphabetical classification. Once he knows the alphabetical classification, he has to find out that which type of drug is used, whether it is a which part of the leaf is which part of the drug is to be used as a drug. So, he should know the morphological classification. Once he knows the morphological classification, he has to identify the particular species which will be used for his research work. So, he uses the taxonomical classification, and lastly he should know the phytochemistry of that plant, and for that he does the chemical classification. So, In short, by using all these classifications, we can reach to a point where we have a clear information about that particular drug, that how we can study this drug. In the next class, we will be going through the pharmacological classification, serotaxonomical and chemotaxonomical classification, which will add further information regarding this topic of classification of crude drugs. So, with this we end this lecture. Thank you very much.